Welcome to Go Kaiju Show, where we have a healthy obsession with kaiju. I'm your co-host, Kent, and with me is your other co-host,
Jason. How's it going, peeps?
And today we are covering the brand new Jurassic World Rebirth movie starring Scarlett Johansson and a cast of others whose names I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but we will talk about them as we proceed through this discussion here. This will be actually our first Jurassic Park / World discussion that we've done. Otherwise, so far, we've only done 3 commentaries on the series so far. We have yet to finish that up, but our first discussion here. So before we get into all that, Jason, the usual housekeeping.
Yeah, if you see a subscribe button down below or above wherever you're watching us from, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. And if you listen to us audio format, make sure to subscribe to us either on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Oh no, Google Podcasts is no longer. Tune in and all that, and then give us a 5-star rating. And you can find both video and audio versions of our episodes right on our own website at gogokaijushow.com.
And I talked about this on the last show, which has yet to be posted. Thanks, Jason. Hitting the like and subscribe button for us doesn't cost you anything except a few seconds of your time, because we're one of the few podcasts out there, not just in general, but even in the kaiju genre, that does not ask you for money. We don't have a Patreon. We don't even have a donation button or anything like that. All we ask is that you just subscribe, like, tell your friends and all that about the longest running kaiju podcast thus far, because this is a labor of love, and I think it shows because we don't get paid.
Yeah, and speaking of which, ever since we hit 400 subs on our YouTube channel, it seems like we've been getting quite a few. And I think the last time I checked, we were getting close to 430. If I remember. Yeah,
it kind of trickles in. It seems like I think we're averaging like no more than maybe 2 or 3 a week, which is fine. It needs to be better though.
Well, and then we should try to be sort of consistent, but then also on my end trying to get shit out.
Well, and as I've, half joking, but at the same time a little serious, I'm like, maybe we need to do a little bit better job on here too, like with research, kind of like, I don't know, like that's kind of how it is. But
that,
again, when you get free content.
Yeah, that, and then I know we've always talked about trying to do stuff with the website, mainly this guy over here, but then he never gets around to it in the end. So
I got 2 kids to raise.
Well, there comes a point to where it's like,
and he's been in quite a few sports for the last year and a half. That takes up a lot of time too. And I got one of my cats in here too, who's I think he's bored. He's trying to figure out what to chew in here. So before we get into Jurassic World Rebirth, one of the things I want to talk about is this brand new book that just came out earlier this week as of this recording. It's called Godzilla, the First 70 Years by Steve Reifel, owes me an interview, 21 years overdue, and Ed Gajaszewski. This book is massive. Take a look at my head, like in comparison to this book. This book is massive. It's heavy. One of the cool things, though, is that like all of this back here is textured, and so is this. Look at what you win, Bob. So I haven't really had, because I've had a lot of family here over the last week, and so I haven't had a whole lot of time to really go through it. But this is kind of an illustrated history of the first 70 years of Godzilla. So like here is an example. I think this is Destroying Monsters. It might be. I'm not totally sure. But like here's a sample page here. There's a lot of photographs and information in this book. There are some pages. See if I can find it. Oh, nope. There's Destroy Monsters. There's some pages where it's just pictures. So like here's some production design, show a series chapter in this particular section here. like some production photos, or should I say pre-production sketches, I guess. So let me see if I can find
Be nice if your video quality was a little bit better.
Well, see, on my end, of course, it always looks so. Like this is just a page or two where it's just a photograph. Some I've read online who have purchased the book have said that it is the best Godzilla book produced, at least for Western audiences.
Since the Godzilla Compendium, I would say.
Well, and I still think Steve Rifle's Japan's favorite monster, at least in terms of information, is still probably the best book. And I know David Callett had a book too. That book is pretty good too. The reason though why I like Japan's favorite monster a little bit more is that also goes into more information on movies that Toho was looking to make at one time but didn't. And then even in that particular book, Rifle goes into the unmade U.S. Godzilla movie, what the story was going to be like and how it was going to play out. And so that book, it doesn't have a ton of photos, but it's very information heavy. And that's something that I personally like. I have a couple of issues, though, with this book. Like I think I said at the top when I started discussing it, is that it's massive and it's heavy. It's definitely like a coffee tabletop type book.
Can't even put it in your regular bookshelf.
You can't really like sit in your comfy chair and really read it. That's a little bit of an issue I have with it. And the title is a little misleading because it's, Godzilla the first 70 years. And I would think most people, myself included, initially when I saw this, I thought, is this also going to cover, like a lot of the U.S. stuff, like the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, the 98 movie, the original 94 U.S. movie, the MonsterVerse up to this point in time. It doesn't. And I understand that they probably had to work really hard just to convince Toho to get licenses to use the photographs and some of the information for this book. Probably. And then I'm sure going after
money.
Well, it could be that too, perhaps. And then I'm sure like trying to get Warner Brothers and then TriStar and then, Hanna-Barbera and all that stuff. It just was probably going to be too expensive. And tedious, I'm sure, to gather that information and to put it together. But the title's a little misleading. So anyone who's out there looking to potentially purchase the book, I want you to know that it's just the Toho stuff. It covers every single Toho Godzilla movie up to -1. And then it also covers the anime trilogy and Godzilla Singular Point, that miniseries. So nothing involving any U.S. production. So the title's just a bit misleading. It's a decent price tag too, but I would say considering its size, its heft, all the photos and the information you get into it, it's, I think, kind of worth it. It's over $60.
That's not terribly bad.
It's a pretty good price tag on it. So that to me though is still a lot. I personally would have preferred it to be like $10 cheaper because I just think granted, if you're a big Godzilla nut like I am, that's not going to stop you necessarily. But I think for others, it's going to be a barrier to purchasing this thing. And I haven't let me quickly check Amazon. I don't know if this thing is selling like hotcakes or not, because so far it still seems like it's in stock. And according to Amazon here, actually, retail is $75 on this thing.
Holy crap.
So yeah, I think, because I know Barnes and Noble is selling the book retail. So yeah, I'm going to say 75. That's too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just is.
I would just wait for like a holiday season or something to see if that's on sale.
If it's available, even
Yeah.
then. Something tells me this book, I mean, I think its high price point is going to prevent it from selling like hotcakes. I mean, already the book's been out for like 5 days or something like that as of this recording, and it's not sold out. So I think its price tag, even on Amazon, is preventing it from selling real fast. But I truly believe by the time you get to the holiday season, this book is probably going to be sold out. Whether or not the publisher, what is the publisher here? Abrams. I'm not sure if they potentially have any plans of maybe making a second edition should this thing sell out or not. That I just think is something we just have to see. But it's a real nice book. Definitely a lot of information. Like I said, I haven't been able to really read much or do much with it. I've just quickly skimmed it. But it's still a real nice book. But it just covers the Toho stuff. And it's heavy, it's big, and it's damn expensive. Yeah. So,
yeah, I probably won't get it anytime soon because I got other things to do and worry about.
All right, so moving on to Jurassic World Rebirth. It is, so far, as of this recording, the fourth highest grossing film, domestically anyways, this year thus far. And it stars Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Friend, Manuel Garcia Rolfo, Luna Blasey. Sorry if I'm butchering some of these names. David Iacono, Adriana Miranda, Ed Skrein, Bashir Sylvain, and Felipe Velgi. And the synopsis of the film, more or less, is pretty straightforward, like it is technically with a lot of these Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, where it's how many years after Dominion? I think it's not 15 years, but it's like 3 or 4 years after Dominion.
Well, it seems like they're kind of going, from what it's saying here, what I've seen here, that it takes place in 2008.
It opens up in 2008, and then it fast forward to present day.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't really give much information on that front.
Technically, even if you do the math, and again, I've seen it twice, and the last time I saw it was like a week and a half ago. If you do the math, when it says present day, if you did it correctly, it's like 2026 or 2027. So it's technically just a tad bit into the future, but whatever. I guess first, before I even get into that, the movie starts off in 2008 on this island, like 200 some odd miles from France, where it's the island where a lot of the dinosaurs that had some sort of mutations or I don't want to say disorders, but so I forget the term. Something went wrong during the production of these dinos. They are shipped here, and also at the same facility, they are doing research on mutations for new dinosaur attractions for the other Jurassic Parks.
Yeah.
And Snickers is going to love this movie. Basically, a Snickers wrapper ends up preventing one of these containment doors to the Distoris Rex chamber from closing all the way, and then the Distoris Rex ends up attacking the people that are going in there to study it or feed it or whatever they were going to do. And then they finally are able to close the door, but then because of what happened with the Distoris, it somehow got out. We never really know, because even the containment doors end up actually closing. A little bit of a plot issue there. But eventually that island is abandoned. We've heard about this before several times throughout the series. And then you fast forward. fast forward to present day, and what has taken place since Dominion is that a lot of the dinosaurs that have spread across the globe, a lot of them have either started migrating more towards the equator or have died or are dying, because I guess in the northern hemispheres, in some of the southern hemispheres, like in Australia and even parts of South America, the air is thinner. Just some of the ecosystems are not.
It's not as oxygen rich compared to
the hotter region.
When they roamed the earth millions of years ago.
Yeah, so a lot of the dinosaurs are dying or are migrating more towards the equator region of the planet. And Scarlett Johansson is approached by the dude here. Hold on. It's played by Rupert Friend. His character is Martin Krebs. I just wanted to double check because I thought it was Krebs, but I wasn't totally sure. And he works for a pharmaceutical company that is wanting to gather blood from the largest dinosaurs on this island just a few hundred miles off of France. So they're wanting blood from Quetzalcoatlus, Mosasaurus, and Titanosaurus. And the purpose of collecting this blood from these dinos is to create medicine for people who are dealing with heart disease, because these dinos, as they say in the movie, because they are some of the largest dinosaurs ever, technically Quetzalcoatlus and Mosasaurus aren't dinosaurs. Let's just be clear. Titanosaurus is the only true dinosaur out of that group. They tend to live longer. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure if that is scientifically true or not, but nevertheless, it's a movie. And so they would turn this blood, use it to kind of create a pharmaceutical drug to give to people who are combating heart disease, help them live better, longer, healthier lives. And so Scarlett Johansson and her crew, along with a friend Duncan Kincaid and a bunch of other folks, end up accepting the deal from Krebs. They get $10 million apiece, and they start heading to the island. But then over the earlier section of the movie, the Delgado family, headed by Ruben Delgado, their boat is shipwrecked by Mosasaurus, and they are eventually picked up by Scarlett Johansson and her crew. They end up going to this island in which Distortus ended up causing everyone to evacuate a number of years earlier. And they end up collecting successfully the blood of the three creatures that they came to seek out. And along the way, Jonathan Bailey, who plays Dr. Henry Loomis, kind of talks to Scarlett's character Zora, saying, look, instead of giving this blood to the pharmaceutical companies, why not go to the UN and have it free? Because what this pharmaceutical company is going to do, they're going to overcharge everybody, and not everyone's going to have access to this life-saving medicine. And so they end up having issues with different dinos over the course of the movie, which we will end up discussing here. And then ultimately the Distortus Rex shows up at the end of the film. He ends up killing Martin Krebs. Martin Krebs ends up being a total jackwad, like many of us kind of figured he would be.
I kind of figured when watching it, even earlier watching in the movie, that he was going to be like kind of sort of the main human baddie.
Yeah. And they end up escaping the Distortus and using a getaway boat that they find on an abandoned dock, make their way off to who knows where. And Henry Loomis asks Zora again, well, are we going to give this to the world? And she goes, yep. And then credits roll.
Pretty much the end of it.
Yep.
So, where do we begin on this one?
I want to start off talking about how I think this movie, in many ways, it's written by David Koepp, who I think wrote the first two Jurassic Park movies, if I remember correctly.
Let me just check his filmography here. So he started out in 1988. So
fast forward to 93.
Yeah, so he wasn't in it for too terribly long. So yeah, pretty much started with Jurassic Park, and then you got Lost World in there. He also did Spider-Man, War of the Worlds, and The Mummy, the Tom Cruise one. And then, it goes all the way up to Jurassic World Rebirth. So this would be his third one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. And this movie, in many ways, is a combination and sort of, I think, a love letter to the first 3 Jurassic Park movies.
I was just sort of thinking about that, the more I think about it, it seems like it's sort of a combination between the first 3 movies.
It very much is, because the Titanosaurus sequence is similar to the Brachiosaur moment in the first movie. The fact that it's in the dinosaurs' quote-unquote natural environment is similar to the Lost World.
And then when you had the scene with one of those velociraptor type of
the Mutodons
dinosaurs, you had the one scene where it was right on the floor. You see the feet of it. It's a call back to the very first one where the velociraptors were chasing after the 2 kids.
Yep. And the ending where they not really battle, but confront the Distortus Rex and then end up running away is similar to the ending of 3. So this movie, I would argue, is in some ways a throwback of sorts to those initial 3 films, and is sort of a soft reboot because it is a sequel. Dominion, by and large, is acknowledged here in the film because the dinosaurs were spread out over the globe, but yet a lot of them are dying or migrating. But at the same time, it's like none of the previous characters are mentioned or even shown. And then on top of that, too, they're going to a different island. But you know what? With these kinds of movies, if you're going to keep making them, there's always going to be some sort of other island InGen had somewhere where they were messing around with dinosaur DNA and creating different dinos or mutations or what have you.
When you have all these movies and stuff and then sprinkling all these science areas all over, it's like you would think, boy, what the hell have they been doing like all this time? Like, what's going on here?
Well, usually you want to give the movie its premise. And look, I understand what I'm getting into with these kinds of movies. I will still argue Jurassic World Rebirth, the Jurassic World Dominion, a movie that, interestingly enough, a lot of people seem to not like, but it made almost $1 billion. I consider this franchise, even though we just had its 7th entry, is still one of the better film series out there today. Like, yeah, there are definitely some silly moments. You just got to go along for the ride. But when you really even think back to the first Jurassic Park movie, its whole premise is not only impossible scientifically, because 66 million year old DNA is not going to survive to where you can extract it from either mosquitoes and amber or even from dinosaur bones and actually bring back to some extent these prehistoric creatures. But create a park out of it, a zoo, essentially.
Yeah.
Like it's really ridiculous when you think about it. And I've only read like about a third of Crichton's first Jurassic Park novel. And I think what Crichton is getting at with at least that first novel is it's more about the philosophical debate of not just bringing animals back, but the use of genetic science, and more specifically things like cloning and that sort of thing.
And it's kind of not too terribly long ago, he's starting to hear in the news of them revive. I'm not sure, like sort of reviving, like they've done with the dire wolf. And then from what I heard that they're planning on trying to revive back the Tasmanian dog, I think. And then saber-tooth, woolly mammoth, things that have been extincted
for a long time.
By man, at least try to revive them back.
Yeah, and I mean, we could get into that debate. I'm sort of tempted to do that, but it's like I want to stay away from that because we could spend a lot of time on that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the basis of Crichton's initial novel. And the movie, in some respects, touches upon that. But the movie is very different from the novel as well. And then, of course, spoiler alert, if you've never read the two Crichton novels, really there should not have been a second novel, because at the end of his first novel, it's Hammond dies. He's killed, I think, by a T-Rex or something like that. And the island is completely obliterated. If I remember correctly, I think a couple of bombers just come and just firebomb the island, and that's it. And Crichton did not want to do a second novel, but Spielberg talked him into doing the second novel when he was doing The Lost World Jurassic Park. And so there's a lot of issues with continuity, obviously, with that second novel. I read that second novel, interestingly enough, before I read the first. It's fine, but it's kind of a mess. That second novel, not just from continuity standpoint, but it's just not as interesting and as entertaining, even compared to the first third of the Crichton Jurassic Park novel that I've read so far. Mm-hmm. But Kep kind of went back and tried to incorporate certain elements from that original Jurassic Park novel into this movie, such as the Tyrannosaurus Rex raft scene where the T-Rex swims and goes after a raft. In the book, the characters are different, but here we get the Delgado family. But yeah, after that, I'm not entirely sure where to go from here. I guess we could talk about the characters and what have you, maybe.
Yeah, before we do that, as far as kind of the family that gets into this
Delgados
predicament, I kind of like how the dad was sort of saying your mom's gonna kill me if she finds out that I have you guys here and all that stuff. That's also sort of a callback to some of the other moments in previous films where they had families on these islands, and then they sort of end up either getting eaten by dinosaurs or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you kind of take it from here, Jason. Where do you want to go? There's a part of me that's the problem. We don't do a whole lot of discussions lately, and so we're a little lost as far as how to cover.
Sometimes we need to probably sort of lay out some sort of groundwork, like categories and all that stuff. Try to be a little bit better of what we're trying to do here. Instead of just sort of fucking winging it.
That's what you get for a free podcast.
Yeah, so we sort of talked about the story / plot.
Well, we didn't really discuss. I just kind of gave a synopsis of it.
Well, oh boy, let's see here. Yeah, why don't we just talk about the story first before we get into characters?
Yeah. Again, this is, as we just talked about a moment ago, this is in many respects sort of a copy and paste loosely of kind of what the first three Jurassic Park movies were sort of like. But it also harkens back a bit to Jurassic World as well, because Henry Loomis, who works at Museum of Natural History in New York, was also talking about how since the dinosaurs started actually spreading out across the globe and are actually living in communities with other people, people don't come to the museums much anymore. it's similar to kind of that line that we learn about when they introduced the Indominus Rex, how who was the guy? It wasn't InGen, but he bought InGen in that first movie. He ends up being killed by the pteranodons in Jurassic World. It starts with an M.
I wouldn't know.
I got it on the tip of my tongue. Maserati. He ends up buying like the whole InGen and their science and stuff. And so they end up starting the whole mutation thing. But in this movie, InGen has kind of started that. Let's not think too hard about this because there could be some issues with previous films on this. But they start messing around with combining DNA, and hence the Indominus Rex, which is made up of God knows how many dinos and other creatures.
Yeah, all I've heard is like at least a whale combined with dinosaur DNA, hence sort of the formation of what it looked like with that figure that you shown.
Oh, you're talking Distortus?
Yeah.
Distortus, I don't know. Like, again, we don't really know. Obviously, I think there's T-Rex DNA in it. I thought this right here was something like either a cancerous tumor or just a growth, like just a random growth that's not cancerous. I don't know. You know what? We're going to be all over the place on this. Since I got this guy up, I want to ask you a question because I noticed this almost immediately. What does this remind you of?
Looks like a carnivorous Moby Dick.
I never thought of it that way, but that's not where I was going.
I'm not quite sure where you're getting at.
A Muto.
Oh, yeah. Now,
Gareth Edwards directs this movie, and I don't know if David Koepp had much, if any, sort of input on the design of this Distortus Rex. But, of course, with Edwards being the director, obviously his team for sure got involved with designing it. This is very much similar to the design of the Mutos from the 2014 Godzilla movie.
There's another thing now that I remember on this, that when I saw the trailer to the movie for the first time, it sort of reminded me of. It starts. I think it starts with an E, but it reminds me of the one giant alien thing from Return of the Jedi from Star Wars.
Jabba the Hutt?
No. It was Rancor.
I think
for some reason I keep thinking it started with an E, but it's an R. But yeah,
I think it's. Don't quote me on this, but I thought someone said Edwards did say the Rancor was some inspiration for this particular dino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of the very first time I saw the trailers. Like, is that Rancor? And then a lot of people were talking about it. It's like, why is Rancor in here?
Yeah. But I thought, getting back to where we were initially, it has touches of that Jurassic World story element where people are kind of like sick of dinos. And so like some of these museums of natural history are going out of business. I don't know where to go. Let's just kind of talk about whatever. I think that's usually what we do. Like, let's just talk about whatever.
And then I remember the very first thing when I got back from the theater, telling Kent that I just watched it, and he was wanting to kind of get my input on how I thought of the film. Is that I was a little bit disappointed that there really wasn't a climactic fight between at least the D-Rex and then maybe some other dinosaur that they may have tried to pit up against it. But because I think most of the films in the franchise at least has a climactic battle.
Half of them do.
Except for, if I can remember, besides this film, I think number 3, Lost World, and I think that might be it. Unless if I'm...
There's no real climatic like battle, so to speak, I would argue, in the first 3 films. Definitely like the once the world part came in, then you really had, for sure, like these battles. And I don't remember if I've ever mentioned this before when we've talked about when we've done some of the commentaries before. There is this YouTube channel, and I think it's the guy's name, Clayton Fioriti. His last name is, I think, spelled Fioriti. But he basically, that's an entire Jurassic Park channel. He does some speculative stuff on it, but he does a lot of information. He's a huge Jurassic Park / World fan. He gets a lot of information. Like, he's really... like, he's a super fan, and he somehow gets a lot of this information. He had a video that came out shortly after this movie was released. And yeah, they were talking about how Gareth Edwards, as they were producing the film, was discussing about the possibility of a climatic battle between the D-Rex and the T-Rex. And then I think one of the producers or someone on the crew came along, and there was a term that he used, and I forget what term he used, but it basically was like, look, dude, the T-Rex always comes in and saves the day. Like, that's what people expect. Do you really want to go that route? And so for a while, Edwards kind of went back and forth on whether or not he wanted to do that for the ending of the film. And he ultimately decided no, he didn't want to, because not only did he want to distinguish his own movie from the rest, but he kind of thought maybe people would be a little tired of that, and he wanted to surprise the people to an extent too, because he probably figured through the trailers and then eventually as the movie plays out, people are going to expect the T-Rex to come in and fight this thing. And he kind of wanted to sort of like, quote unquote, trick them into thinking that that may be something that's going to play out. Because, as I said a moment ago, really the fights didn't become a thing until Jurassic World, because there you had the T-Rex and Blue versus the Indominus. Then you had Blue face the Indoraptor in Fallen Kingdom, and then in Dominion you had the T-Rex and Therizinosaurus go up against the Giganotosaurus. Yeah, and so kind of like Jason, I was expecting that, and I'm still on the fence about the decision they made, because part of me wanted that, even though, yes, it would be like the 4th consecutive movie, something like this would have happened. But myself and many others included are huge T-Rex fans. So I wanted the T-Rex to come in and kill this thing.
Well, as far as for me, I would still count the very first film to at least have a climactic battle.
That's a small bit of one.
Because, I mean, you had the Velociraptors getting slaughtered by...
Well, yeah, that wasn't really a fight, though. That was like just getting pwned. That's what that was.
I still sort of consider it in that part as far as a climactic battle, but not much.
But then at the same time, there is a part of me that's a little glad Edwards didn't do the climatic fight, because yeah, it had been done the last 3 consecutive films. So, you know, I'm sitting right in the middle of the fence on this. I sort of like it, but at the same time, yes, I would have liked to have had a climatic battle. But it leaves everything open potentially, depending upon if there's a sequel, which I'm sure there will be, to potentially include the Distortus Rex in a sequel. And then whatever happened, they decide to happen with it then, either to continue it for future movies or, yeah, to have it get in a fight with something or what have you.
So, what do you think of the characters, as far the human characters?
I mean, they are I don't want to make it sound like I'm damning the movie, but at the same time, I don't want to make it seem like they're the greatest character. Like, I'm trying to find that sweet spot. For a movie like this, the characters are good. I would argue they are just a little bit above average for this kind of film, because Scarlett Johansson is a really good actor, and Mahershala Ali, I think, is a real good actor as well. The characters, I think, in some respects, are types, but not totally, because I do think they have arcs. Like, Scarlett Johansson's character has an arc where she's coming in. She is, gosh, what did they say? Spec Ops, and is coming in initially for the money, and then by movie's end is looking to give the dinosaur blood to the UN so that the medicine can be used and available basically for free to anyone around the world that needs it. So her character has an arc. Henry Loomis really doesn't. Mahershala Ali really doesn't either. But I think they are well acted, because you got good actors playing these characters. And so there's usually a saying that even if your characters are not that well written, if you get good actors to play them, those good actors can at least make them a little bit better just through their performance, their delivery of dialogue, and so on. Martin Krebs, the character, definitely, I mean, you could see it from a mile away that he's the villain. You know, he's not like he's not I would argue, the most like sort of hateful, villainous person you're going to find in this franchise. He's more like a scumbag more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And then the Delgado family, the little girl really doesn't have many lines, so she's just there. The teenage daughter is pretty good. I like the fact that when she's getting the raft during that initial starting point of the T-Rex raft scene, that not only does she get involved, but they make her strong, not just physically, but just in terms of personality, that she's willing to be brave while the T-Rex is there, and to like try to sneak this raft out as carefully as possible, get it set up so they can go downriver. I like that. The guy who plays her boyfriend, I want to catch his name here. Let's see here. Xavier. He does a good job too. Like, he is this kind of traditional lazy teen boy in some sense, but even he actually has a bit of an arc or a underbelly to his personality as well, where he has a bit of a strong or brave side to him as well, because during the Mosasaurus and Spinosaurus scene, his girlfriend, and I think her name is Teresa. Yes, Teresa falls overboard because Martin Krebs just kind of lets her fall. Xavier jumps into the water to try to save her. And then he and Ruben Delgado, the father, end up having this talk when they're sleeping that first night they're on the island, where Ruben apologizes to Xavier, saying, you know, look, I had you all wrong. I thought you were just this lazy punk, but because of you, my daughter more than likely survived. And Xavier has this moment where he says something to the effect of, like, yeah, but I'm still like a punk or something of that sort. And then Ruben, I think, has one of the best lines of the movie, where he says something to the effect of, like, people will talk shit about us, but we don't need to do the work for them. And I thought that, you know, you hear similar things in various movies, but I thought that was more poignant and to the point than what you'll get in other films as well. Having the one little dinosaur, the ceratopsian, be with the smaller daughter, whose name is Isabella. You know, it's a cute little dino. I kind of liked having it tag along. It was cute. It didn't serve a huge purpose per se, no. But it was there. It's cute. I don't know if I've ever seen a toy of that thing. I'm surprised if they don't have one.
Like at least have a stuffed version of
right
of it.
Scarlett Johansson, I think, does a really good job as Zora Bennett. She's very tough, but there is kind of this sad side to her personality because she lost a close friend in, gosh, what was the country they were in? Regardless, she lost a buddy to a roadside bomb. And you can definitely tell because her and Duncan are talking on the boat for a few minutes at one point on their way to the island, where both of them are just sick and tired of being spec ops. They're tired of the violence. They're tired of being put in harm's way. Duncan has a small boy, and he wants to spend more time with him. And they're just trying to financially, through this mission, become financially well off to where they can not only not have to do spec ops anymore, but maybe do something more with their lives. And you see that in her at various points in the film, but you definitely see Scarlett play very well this very tough, experienced spec ops person willing to come in and do what is necessary to complete the mission to make sure everyone is coming out alive, which obviously as the movie plays out, not everyone comes out alive. And Mahershala Ali as Duncan, this is a guy who I first discovered him while watching House of Cards. He played the character Remy in that series. I liked him then, but I just think the more I've seen him in years since, the better I think he's gotten as an actor. And I really like his character. There's even one point where after they save the Delgado family that he's chewing out the father, kind of like, well, why aren't these kids at school? Why are you sailing halfway across the world in waters that are infested by these creatures? Why are you putting them in harm's way? And then Scarlett shuts him down for a moment. I like the rapport between Zora and Duncan. And I think Mahershala Ali does a very good job, too, of being not only this tough guy when necessary, but he's also like Zora, that he wants to get his team in and out alive. He cares a lot for his crewmates. And then even towards the end of the movie, where after the Mutadons have arrived and then the Distortus is just starting to show up, they're in the drainage system underneath this gas station, and he's telling Isabella, like, look, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. We're going to be fine. We're going to get out of this okay. And being sort of like another father figure of sorts to not just Ruben's children, but even to Ruben himself, because they're commandos. They've been in combat situations. They kind of know in some respects what to do, even though these are dinosaurs and not human combatants. And Henry, I think, is really good too. I am an environmentalist and all that, and I like his one moment where they're in the swamps trying to make their way across the island, and he has this monologue that lasts like a minute or two where he talks about how dinosaurs survived for hundreds of millions of years, while mankind, depending upon how you look at it, has been around anywhere from a couple 100,000 years to maybe 1 million years or two. And he was saying, if we're these smart creatures, then why have we developed this ability to destroy ourselves? And once the earth is sick of us, it'll shake us off like a cold. And basically scaring the crap out of Martin Krebs, kind of like, look, you think we're the most dominant species on this planet. Dinosaurs lived for a very, very long time. And he goes, humankind is on this cusp of destroying itself. So, he's kind of basically telling him, okay, couple 100 million years for dinosaurs, and you have this very teeny tiny pinprick in which humankind has only been on this planet. But I like Henry as well. He has a couple of funny scenes where, like when he's dropping down into that Quetzalcoatlus cove there, and he kind of drops into it, and Zora says something like, oh yeah, just like you're climbing rock wall at the gym, and he kind of has yeah. Like he kind of like is laughing, but is kind of this out of breath moment too. But I dominated the conversation quite a bit.
Yeah. So not going to go into the whole spiel on this. As far as kind of the overallness, as far as the characters go, I think they felt more personable, and then felt a little bit grounded in this. And I think with Gareth's expertise of when he has human characters along with some of these creatures, go back to monsters and as well as Godzilla 2014 and all that. And I think kind of gives him a bit more of kind of the expertise on kind of how to balance things out between the human characters and as well as kind of give a little bit of the spotlight with the dinosaurs in here. And I think he does a pretty good job balancing things out and then kind of giving some of the backstory and some interactivity with the humans and as well as human dinosaur interaction throughout the film. And then, yeah, it's just, it feels a bit more grounded, I would say, compared to some of the like the other Jurassic World films. It kind of, like what we said and what you said, it kind of harkens back to the first three, where it felt grounded and you kind of get to know more of the characters, even some of their backgrounds with a lot of them. And then can't really think of anything else.
I would say maybe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I would say that, yeah, like you were saying, the characters seem more grounded here. They're not, even though I really liked Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt in the previous trilogy, they came off as sort of like untouchable, sort of superhero-like in many respects.
I was sort of thinking about that. I was sort of thinking about that too, is like when it came to the Jurassic World ones, it sort of felt like kind of a superhero-esque type of vibe. It didn't feel genuine or as authentic or sort of grounded in reality.
Yeah, like you kind of knew as that trilogy played out that Pratt and Howard were not going to be part of the body count. Here, I mean, look, let's face it, we knew Johansson was going to survive, but I really thought because of the previews, Duncan maybe was going to end up dead. A weird, interesting moment in the story. I'm not sure why the Distortus didn't even kill him there at the end, because the Distortus was right there. Like, even if the flare went out, why didn't the Distortus? That to me seemed weird.
Yeah, when I noticed that when he came out from the water there, it was like, wait, I thought he was dead. Just, when that flare went out, you would think that he was dead, but then for whatever reason, he miraculously survived it when that Distortus Rex was literally feet in front of him.
Yeah, I that to me, I'm kind of like, how? But okay.
Yeah. Maybe sort of leaving it open for another one where they probably star in the next one. Who knows?
Now let's talk about the thing that we came here for, and that's the dinosaurs and their sequences.
Mainly this guy.
What? Huh? Well, you went to the movie to see dinos. Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying that. Come on. I'm just saying that you're more of a dinosaur fan than I was. So.
Well, everybody loves dinosaurs. Like,
yeah,
they're cool creatures. So, am I supposed to go?
Well, as far, I'll sort of go.
You know what? Maybe let's go scene by scene. So, like, let's kind of start off with like the initial Distortus Rex scene at the beginning, and then we'll both say something, and then we'll move on to like the next dinosaur scene until we get to the end.
So, as far as the first scene you got all the dinosaurs kind of cooped up in sort of these lab. I forget I sort of forget the names. Like they're kind of in all this. Boy, I'm having a foggy moment on this. That they're being tested. Yeah, God dang. Let's see here. You see a bunch of them just kind of being tested, on the lab table and everything, and then kind of in these glass tubes. And then you had pretty much the contaminant area where you have the Dominus Rex or Distorus. Jeez Louise.
2 movies behind.
Yeah. And then, of course, Kent talked about this earlier with the Snickers saying, for whatever reason,
Way to
just
go, Snickers.
malfunctions things. First off, I don't even know if it would actually do that. And then also, why have a freaking vent in these doors?
It's a movie. Dinosaurs.
Couldn't you just have a vent like kind of on the walls or something?
You gotta have stuff to make the story and to move it along.
But you don't really see much of the Distorus Rex except for maybe just kind of the head and then one of the arms. I think it was his right arm there grabbing the guy, one of the scientist guys, and then just sort of walks off with him. And then that was pretty much it of that scene. And then you go into the present day with all the main characters.
Yeah, I think the opening Distorus Rex scene, it did a really awesome job of kind of setting things up. And I think the movie, by and large, does a pretty good job of following through on this, too, where it is a slightly scarier Jurassic World movie, whereas I think the trilogy of Jurassic World movies more actiony, except Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom was done by J.A. Bayona, excuse me, who is a horror director, and there were definitely horror elements, especially involving the Indoraptor moments in that film. But this definitely opens up and kind of says this is going to be a bit more tense than what you have been seeing since 2015. And I really like it. I think it's a very cool introduction. Yeah, we never really learn anything about this Distorus Rex other than it was some sort of mutation. We just don't know if it was a creature that they had mutated intentionally on this island and were raising to maybe put in a park, or if it was a mutation that had gone wrong and that they were just keeping it alive and studying it until it ended up dead. So there's still a lot of unknown elements there about the Distortus. But yeah, I really do like this opening. It's more intense. And just to preview my overall thoughts on Distortus, I genuinely was hoping we would have gotten more of it in this movie. And so that to me was not a big, but a little bit of a disappointment on that front. I want to say after that, when you go to Martin Krebs and Scarlett coming together, they have this brontosaurus causing a traffic jam in New York. They call it, was it Billy the Brachiosaurus? It's not a Brachiosaurus.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch
it. I'm like, no, that is not a Brachiosaurus. That's dinosaur nerd in me.
It's like, just have some sort of expert in, just try to correct it for you.
Yeah, like the first time I saw the movie, I'm like, I think I heard it right where he said Billy the Brachiosaurus. I'm like, that's not a Brachiosaurus. And then when I went and saw it a second time, I'm like, oh, no. They screwed that. Like, the nerd in me's like, no, it's not a Brachiosaurus.
So, what was the next
I think
dinosaur
really
scene.
after that, it's the Delgado family with the mosasaur, and then the mosasaur spinosaur.
Yeah. Well, at first they did see two fins, which evidently turned out to be the spinosaurs, which from what I've heard, I forget the name of the guy that they said that it's a Spinosaurus that was genetically modified between another dinosaur and then obviously a Spinosaurus, so, to where that they swim better because they seem that they, because I think that Spinosaurus didn't really do a whole lot of swimming in packs or something of the sort. I that's from what I was hearing something of the sort on this thing when they were on the island.
Yeah, like Henry Loomis was saying, it was a symbiotic relationship they had with the mosasaur.
Yeah.
I think it is true, like in reality, at least so far from what we've known. Yeah, I think most Spinos were kind of like T-Rexes, like they were more loners. However, the actual like look of Spinosaurus is actually scientifically accurate to recent science on the creature, because they have found out through the discovery of more fossils that, yeah, Spinosaurus was not like the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. It was a dinosaur that did swim a fair amount. Its sail was shaped differently. Its skull was designed a bit differently. Its tail was very wide vertically to help propel it through the water. And that, yeah, it probably spent a fair amount of time too on fours because it stayed near bodies of water and probably ate mostly aquatic fauna.
I'm not even sure. I could have sworn that I heard something as far as some kind of some genetic crossover thing with the Spinosaurus or something of the sort. It sort of sounded that way when watching it, but yeah, you had the Spinosaurus and then the Mesiosaurus action going on there after when they was it the Delgado family got rescued and then leading up to them getting shipwrecked on the island there. And then you had one of the gals there that was trying to deal with one of the larger packs that they thrown out from the boat and then kind of went on to the shore there, but then gets eaten by the Spinosaurus there. So that was kind of pretty much it of that whole scene of dinosaurs, and then I'm not entirely sure what the next scene was.
Comment on the mosasaurs and Spinosaurus stuff. That it's one of my favorite sequences of the whole movie. I really like the action. I really thought, I want to say first of all, like I think this pertains to the whole movie. I think it's very well shot. I think there are a lot of great camera angles. I like the color palette for the movie too. I think there are a lot of great camera angles when there are tense and actioning moments. You can see everything. You can make out everything that's going on within a particular moment. I really like this scene. The mosasaur definitely seems a bit smaller than what we saw in the last trilogy of films. It is the same mosasaur too, by the way. And I really like these Spinosaurs. And not only am I someone that likes to see them represented a little bit more accurately to how the actual animals looked, but I kind of liked seeing them back. I want to say this movie, one of the things that also sort of disappointed me a little bit was that this whole film seemed like it was nothing but a series of vignettes of dinosaur moments, because other than technically the Mutadons, because they show up in one brief scene when Xavier has to go pee. Dinosaurs don't.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess technically Distortus. None of the dinosaurs really show up again. It's like they get their moment and then they move on.
Yeah.
That's a little frustrating to me because I was hoping maybe we would get a T-Rex Spino moment again.
Yeah. Or we did briefly get a moment with the Velociraptors in there. And that was the one time where Xavier was taking a piss. And then they were about to ready attack. And then you had the Mutadon come in and pretty much just beating one of them to pulp and then just carrying it off.
That is also like Jurassic Park 3, in which you have a new dinosaur come along, taking out a legacy dinosaur and saying, look, this new one is bad, like bad to the bone. The Mutadon, they made it, one badass dino. One thing, and I think I said this during one of our commentaries, I got so sick of the Raptors throughout this whole Jurassic Park / World series. I am sorry. Like, I think the dinosaurs are cool. Don't get me wrong. But there just was so damn much of the Raptors throughout these last 6 movies. And I like Blue. Like, I would say when the Jurassic World series came along and then you had Blue, like, I kind of warmed up a little bit more to the Raptors. But I was like, even by the Lost World, man, I was so sick of them. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, I understand they're fast, smaller carnivorous dinosaurs that can get into areas that the larger carnivores can't. But I'm like, I want the larger carnivores. Give me more T-Rex. Give me more Carnotaurs, Allosaurs, Ceratosaurs, all that. And I understand too, like those larger carnivores are kind of what more people want anyways, because every movie has had one. You could argue Fallen Kingdom, the T-Rex had a scene or two, but otherwise it was about Blue and the Indoraptor more or less.
Yeah.
And even Dominion, technically, like Giganotosaurus was barely in that one. But like, I just was so happy. And yes, the Mutadons were a raptor replacement, but these guys could fly. And I like them a little bit more than the Raptors, just because they can fly, they can do a little bit more. But I got so sick of the damn Raptors, dude. I really did. I was happy to see them. Like, thank God. Like, when this movie was over, I'm like, oh, thank you for not, like, technically putting in Raptors, like, and having a big segment with them, because I've been done with Raptors for a long time.
And I think it's sort of the same thing with the T-Rex, because we had the T-Rex almost the same amount of times we had the Velociraptors in the last 6 movies, and you only just had the one T-Rex in one scene. I think it was not long after the whole Velociraptor Mutadon scene there, and pretty much the T-Rex, it was sleeping on this little island next to a river there, and then pretty much chasing the Delgado family until they reached to this sort of rock wall crevice thing along the river, and that was pretty much, you never see the T-Rex again after that.
Yeah, look, I gotta say this too. I love this T-Rex. This T-Rex was a Hulk of a T-Rex. Like, this, you could tell, was a very muscular, powerful T-Rex. And yes, Rexy over the last 3 movies was the original T-Rex, and they made her a little bit slimmer because she's an older dinosaur. And I get that. And Rexy still looked very good, don't get me wrong. But this, for like the first time since maybe The Lost World, arguably Jurassic Park 3, like this to me is like the perfect looking T-Rex. This was a T-Rex that was powerful and just, was young enough, like in its prime. Also, and I really liked
pretty agile in the water too.
Yeah, well, and I mean, even scientists have believed that a lot of the theropod dinosaurs on some level could swim. It just was a question of, like, technically, like, in terms of distance, how far could they effectively swim? but I love the T-Rex raft scene too. I mean, again, huge T-Rex fan. I've always loved T-Rex. I'm sad we didn't get to see more of it, but I love that T-Rex raft scene. Done very well. It was real tense. Like the several moments where the T-Rex like stuck its head under the water to try to get like a couple of the members of the Delgado family. I actually was kind of like, oh crap, like,
Yeah.
Like it came awfully close to getting a few of them.
But the one thing that sort of scratched my head is that when he grabbed that entire raft with his mouth and like almost like really chopping on it, you would think that raft should have popped easily with his razor teeth and everything, but it didn't. And I was sort of scratching my head and sort of telling myself, it's like, why did that not puncture at all?
I thought the same thing the first time I saw it, but one of the things I told myself was it's a movie. Yeah. But yeah, technically it should have popped because I think they studied the T-Rex bite force, and I think they said T-Rex had the strongest bite force of any animal ever known. Like I think even stronger than the megalodon. The large shark. And I mean, T-Rex, had like a very powerful bite force. But yeah, it should have. But it's a movie.
And with that, I'm trying
Titanosaurus.
Yeah, Titanosaurus. I was thinking that there might have been something else, or if it was a Titanosaurus one. And when we got to that one, like, you know, it sort of opened up kind of like, I think it kind of opened up like the Lost World scene with the Velociraptors and all that stuff. I sort of thought that there might have been Velociraptors in this one, but then out of nowhere, it's like you started seeing this very like stringy looking tail, and then all of a sudden you started seeing these gigantic bodies and long necks just coming out from these like grassy knolls and all that. and then you know, they kind of have this intimate moment with the dinosaur, like the Titanosaurus dinosaurs there, and you had both of them just kind of sort of, you know,
literally necking
or just sort of like kind of like a romantic sort of thing. And then I think towards the end of the scenes, like you just see gobs, like probably close to 100 or maybe over that of these Titanosaurs just over yonder, just walking and all that. It's like, holy fuck.
I might as well just say I love every dinosaur scene, because I realize this is like the third or fourth consecutive time where I'm saying I love this scene. So I'm just going to say I love all the dino action. The more I think about it, I'm like, oh, I like that too. And I like that one. I do love this scene because Alexander Desplat, who also, like Gareth Edwards, was involved in the 2014 Godzilla movie, his score here is just beautiful. And I think it's actually it might be the first time that the Jurassic Park theme plays too, maybe, in the film. I'm not totally sure on that.
It was towards the beginning where they did use the original Jurassic Park
I guess that's
theme.
True. Yeah.
When they were landing into one of the islands to meet up with what's his face? Ali's character.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And then they sort of sprinkled that theme and maybe a couple others leading up to this one.
But this Titanosaur scene, like, it does a couple things. Like, it gives you a little bit of a break in the action. It gives you a moment to breathe after a more intense moment. But at the same time, it still feeds you dino action, but it's not an intense dino scene. And I love it. I think it's so beautiful how the male and female Titanosaurs are just being affectionate towards one another. And Desplat's score here really illustrates that. It's a very soft melody played here. Henry Loomis gets involved. He's in tears at being able to like touch them and to observe, an actual dinosaur in the wild. It is a genuinely beautiful dinosaur scene. I think in terms of just warmth, it's the warmest, sounds a little weird. It's the warmest dinosaur scene I think that this franchise has seen so far. I think it is much better than the brachiosaur scene that we get in the first Jurassic Park movie. And it's a gorgeous scene. And part of me hates to admit this, but this is my thought the first time I saw the film. I was a little concerned they were going to have the dinosaur mount the other one. I was like, no, please don't do that. Like, first of all, I don't want to see that. And it's just like, make this a touching moment. But as the scene kept going, I'm like, oh dear God, like, are they I was kind of concerned there for a moment. I'm like, ugh.
Like, I don't think that they would afford to do that one.
I didn't think they would, but the way the scene kind of kept playing, I'm like, that's kind of like maybe where they're moving towards, because the dinos were so affectionate towards each other. Like, oh no, please don't have the mount. Like, and thankfully they didn't. But that's kind of where initially I was a little concerned at first. I'm like, oh, this is cool. The Titan. Is that one going to mount the other one? Like, I was a little concerned about that.
But it didn't. So
I love that
pretty
scene,
much. So that was pretty much it, the whole scene.
And then Quetzalcoatlus.
That's what I was going to get to, and that's kind of where they get it. Do the rock climbing sort of thing off to the side of the mountain there, and then get the last bit of the DNA or whatever they get from one of the eggs there, because he said that it doesn't really harm the embryonic stage within the egg. And then, of course, you get the Quetzalcoatl coming in. Quetzalcoatlus. These names, I tell you, I can't.
Quetzalcoatlus.
I'm terrible with names. Going after the two there, and then you have the one dude.
Leclerc, I think, is the character's name.
Yeah, trying to reach to the top, and then you had Allie, and then I think Krebs, yeah. They thought that they got him, but then it was he was pretty much eaten there.
That was very graphic in some sense.
Yeah. And then getting chased by the Quetzalcoatlus. See, I'm terrible with names. Down this kind of the Aztec or Mayan style.
It's like a stairway. Yeah, like a hidden stairway.
But the whole scene where they were at with the nest and everything, it sort of seemed like it was built by some sort of Aztec or Mayan technology or something, or
an ancient group of people must have lived on the island at some point.
Yeah. So, and this one didn't last too terribly long. Maybe I would say at most 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes. And you had Loomis pretty much fall down, but he was saved by palm leaves and everything, and then water there. So he was still alive after this long fall all the way down to the ground there. And for whatever reason, it seemed like the other three really got down there pretty fast.
Yeah, they did. especially Duncan and Krebs.
Yeah.
Because Zora could just, continue to shimmy her way down. Mm-hmm. But can I just say that this Quetzalcoatlus looks so much better than the one in Dominion. And the one in Dominion looked fine, but we saw it briefly because all it did was, poke a hole in the jet and stuff, or the plane, I should say, in that last film. This Quetzalcoatlus definitely acts an awful lot like a bird, like the way it moves its head and kind of its body. Well, its body is kind of bat-like, especially as it climbs up that rock wall going after the clerk. And yeah, the way they designed the rest of its head, like sort of proto feathers almost around its head, the design of the beak, this is chef's kiss in terms of design of the Quetzalcoatlus for this particular movie. Very bird-like in a lot of its movement. And even as he swallowed Leclerc, I'm like there's no blood, but just the fact that you see it toss the guy up for a moment, the guy's still alive, and he swallows him whole, and you see a little bit of the guy's outline as he's working down the Quetzalcoatlus' esophagus. I'm like, whoa. Like, and that is one of the perfect things I love about this movie, is that it has some brutal scenes without really showing you blood, at least a whole lot anyways. Because that's, in my opinion, that's horror done right, is when you can have some of that brutality, but not like throw buckets of blood at the screen. Part of it is because I don't like that, because I get a little nauseous of seeing just a bunch of blood after a while just squirt on screen. But I just think, too, it leaves a lot to the person's imagination, because our imaginations, let's face it, our brains are messed up. Like, we can think of some really horrible crap, and our minds, I think, in many ways will go farther the less you show on screen. But the more brutality you show on screen, it really limits your imagination as far as how bad it could get, because what you're already seeing is terrible. Like, if you see someone's head getting lopped off by an axe, yeah, that's brutal, but it's different than if you see like a quick cutaway scene before it happens or what have you.
Yeah. So let's just try to
well, I'm just
try
saying,
not to get too deep into the discussion here. So that was pretty much it. Quetzalcoatlus thing. See,
new T-shirt, Quetzalcoatlus.
And then I don't think there's really not much any other dinosaur scene.
They have the Mutodon scene, the Mutodon gas station, then Disturbance.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the Mutodon one where you had kind of the one of them chasing after Zora, a couple of the other guys as long as the Delgado family, and one of them goes down into the vent to chase after the Delgado family there, and then Zora ends up finding them and then kills the one Mutodon. I don't know if it actually died or if it still survived, because you had another one sort of I think maybe chase after them when they were up to the like the heavy duty cage before meeting the Distortus Rex there, because I know that there was another one atop kind of this one vent there. And then he had this one little girl get through that heavy duty cage there to turn on the switch. And then you had the Distortus Rex come in. I think it was before he was introduced that he was sort of shrouded by steam and everything, and then when the helicopter comes to rescue all the guys from this island, and then gets demolished by the D-Rex there, and then pretty much meets up with all the other humans there, pretty much totals this one Jeep truck, which sort of a hybrid type of vehicle that Krupp was driving, and then pretty much gets eaten by the D-Rex there, and then pretty much chases all the other human characters. And then Ali's character was a distraction, goes after, pretty much runs into a different direction with flares and all that stuff, while the others escape from the island. And then pretty much that was the not only the end of that scene, but pretty much the entire movie right there.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Mutodons. Like I said, even though it's technically sort of the replacement for the Raptors here in this movie, I really love the Mutodons, and I want a figure of them. And to my understanding, there has so far yet to be a Mutodon figure released. I love the looks of these creatures. I love the fact that these guys are sort of a dual threat. They can get you not only on the ground, but get you through the air as well. These are wonderfully brutal dinosaurs. I just wish we could have. I don't think they actually kill anyone. No, they don't kill anyone here. Kind of during their main sequence. That's one of the other. It's a small, very small complaint I have, but I think I find the body count in this movie to be a little lacking. And it would have been nice to see the Mutodons get at least one person, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And even the Distortus go after more than just Krebs. But then again, though, too, you would have to probably rewrite the story in a way that's not quite, and again, I say believable in a movie about dinosaurs living in contemporary times, but figure out a way to get like a larger crew to the island and all that stuff, just to have a body count. And I do in some respects like a smaller group of people, because then you get to know some of the characters. And I do think like with some of the few characters that do end up being killed, you have a little bit more affection for them instead of just random guy getting eaten by X dinosaur. Yeah. But
I want to share my screen. I was kind of looking at some of the toys here just to kind of see if they had a Mutodon. Let's see here. I want to share screen. Yes, I understand. Window. Let's see here. Allow. If I can do that. There we go. So pretty much we have things like the Raptor. It's like
really, geez.
It's like some of the design of the Raptors seemed a little bit different this time compared to the usual design of the Raptors in the Jurassic Park franchise. And then you had the Spinosaurus here, and then you got some of the pop ones, and then you had that Dolores, that little tiny dinosaur.
Hey, they do get a figure of it.
And then they had some dinosaurs that we haven't really seen much before, like
they've been doing that for years.
The Brusaurus here, and then you got some the Storis one, and then let's see, go down here, and then another one that I don't think we've never seen here is the Allosaurus. We didn't see the specific. I'm very terrible with names. The one that kind of looks like the Triceratops here.
See if I can.
It starts with an S right here.
The Spicpies.
Spicpies. That should be a T-shirt right there. And then you have this Chilantosaurus that we've never seen there.
They've been doing this for years, though. It's a way to sell more toys.
Yeah. And then kind of this mutated version of like a Spinosaurus.
No, that's a Suchomimus, I believe. Let me see here. Dinosaur, Mattel Jurassic. That looks like a Suchomimus.
Yeah, it doesn't have a specific name there. And then Allosaurus. And then we didn't see an Ankylosaurus.
Yeah, we did briefly. It got.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Path.
Yeah, now I remember. In this Quetzalcoatlus, like this one seems a bit different compared to the other one. And this one here, what the hell is I've never seen this one before.
That's that's like a proto mammal, if I remember correctly.
It's
it's a real not a real dinosaur, but a real creature.
Enostransivia there, and then you have the Mosasaurus there, T-Rex, Gryposicus.
Okay, we're done. We're getting off topic here.
So that's pretty much it right there.
Yeah. And then the Distortus Rex sequence, it sort of reminded me a little bit of the Spinosaurus scene at the end of Jurassic Park 3 a little bit. But again, I just wanted more. I just wanted more Distortus. I initially thought, again, that we were going to get a T-Rex versus Distortus fight. Little surprised we didn't go there, but like I said earlier, at the same time, kind of like, okay, like I kind of see they're doing things a little bit differently, which is fine. But it also sort of makes sense because, again, the Jurassic World movies, as much as I love that trilogy, yeah, it got to be formulaic in terms of like the T-Rex is usually, anyways, always coming in to save the day. I don't have a problem with that personally, but I was kind of hoping for that. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, like you don't want to go that route. That's fine. Maybe next movie. We'll do it next time.
Yeah. So we're kind of getting close to a couple hours here. So let's kind of try to wrap this up here. So I want to go frame by frame, Jason. And shut up.
Of this 2-hour movie.
The one thing I would say, maybe one of the last things that we haven't touched upon yet is the visual effects of the film. So just briefly, what do you think as far as visual effects of this movie? And do you think it's like improved compared to the past films? Is it kind of, did it feel like it was more grounded or kind of more realistic in sort of a way, or what kind of your overall take on it?
Let me get close to the mic so for those listening to the audio version can understand what I'm doing. That's a chef's kiss. Spectacular. And yeah, I think this is true of every Jurassic Park /World movie going back to the first film in 93, that with each movie, the effects have gotten better. I like I was saying, I think the Quetzalcoatlus is very bird-like in its movement and looks incredible. That might be one of the better looking creatures in this film. The Spinus, every animal looks terrific. I'm just gonna say that. Like every animal moves and looks terrific. You have moments where some of the dinosaurs, and they started this with Jurassic Park 3 because by that point the technology had come around to where they could do it. But like as you're moving, like some jiggly flesh in some appropriate areas too as they move. I mean, that's continued ever since Jurassic Park 3. Like Universal knows this is one of their cash cows, along with Fast and Furious. And I keep hearing about this stupid idea about a crossover between the Jurassic World series and Fast and Furious. And I swear to God, if that ever happens,
along with their Universal monsters.
I'd be more willing to see a Universal Monsters and Jurassic World crossover than a Fast and Furious Jurassic World crossover. That to me makes more sense, but whatever. They know this is one of their cash cows, like one of their big cash cows. And so, yeah, they're going to make sure these movies are well funded enough to where at absolute bare minimum, the animals look terrific. And yeah, like they do a fantastic job making sure that they have the latest tech to be able to do what they need to do. And I love them. All the animals look terrific. And yeah, they have never looked better. Just like in Dominion, regardless of what your opinions were about that movie, they looked better than they did in Fallen Kingdom. In Fallen Kingdom, they look better than they did in World, so on and so forth. And then the sequel to this, they'll look better than they did here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that they're starting to get a little bit more accurate as far as the design of the dinosaurs as they start to improve the knowledge of the dinosaurs. Kind of like what you said earlier as far as the Spinosaurus, where they sort of started to realize that it was more of an aquatic type of dinosaur, and its posture and not much of a land type of carnivorous species like it was portrayed in number 3 there. And I think with sort of the aesthetic, kind of the more of the kind of the earthy tones of this entire film, I think it sort of made them more grounded and sort of more realistic, and kind of sort of made it get close to kind of the reality of it, which I think it kind of made them look much better in this one compared to the other previous films, where they just sort of made them feel a bit kind of crisper, cleaner, and I don't know if there's another thing I'm trying to think of, but with this film, it just sort of gave them that more earthy tone.
But yet still with the pizzazz of color in certain spots.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, I would say it's fairly improved since Dominion.
All right, Jason, final thoughts and letter grade.
Final thoughts, kind of like what I told you in the text there when I got done watching the film, that granted, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get the climactic fight with the D-Rex there. Kind of a lost potential, but digress from that one. But other than that, we get really good human character development, really good story, plot, really great environment in here with, again, the aesthetics, visual effects is really good. And I think it's a really nice follow-up to the franchise there. Kind of a bit of a different take. Don't really see a whole lot of the same dinosaurs, like what you said. You were getting sick and tired of seeing the velociraptors at this point, and just having the Mutodons just sort of kind of take their place in this movie. And then was it just seeing some of little bits of the same dinosaurs, but just kind of get perspective on new dinosaurs coming in this time around. It's sort of a fresh breath of air in here, and then also kind of get some mutations in there. It's kind of a combination of the two. Overall, it's a pretty good film, and with a week of thinking it over, and as far as a grade for Rebirth, I think a solid B is still my take on it, because I said it was a solid B then when I texted you on this one, and just by thinking about it still, I think it's still a solid B. And from the other critics, from what I've seen, it seems to be kind of in that neighborhood. So a solid B. I think it's a really good rating for it.
Yeah, I think Gareth Edwards and to some extent David Koepp, who wrote the story, and then Edwards in many respects having to sort of figuring out how to visualize Koepp's script. whoever was going to do the seventh Jurassic World movie had a very tough, I think, act to follow in terms of figuring out where the series should go, because Jurassic World really kicked things off from, finally getting an operating park to dinosaurs living in the wild and then escaping out to the rest of the world and living amongst humans. And while Dominion, one of the things, and we have never really discussed the film actually, but one of the things that, I kind of am with most people when it comes to Dominion, in that I don't think Dominion fully realized what that would necessarily look like with dinosaurs living amongst people. They sort of did a quick exposition piece at the beginning of that movie to sort of illustrate it, but that was, other than a few other scenes in the movie, they didn't fully illustrate it to its biggest potential.
I think Rebirth sort of kind of capitalizes kind of the aftermath of all of that.
Yeah, and Rebirth in many ways is a bit of a reset for the series, because I know despite the fact the movie made almost $1 billion, Dominion really took things to a level that, where do you go from here type of thing. And I think that I go with the premise. I'm not sure totally how true it is with like the atmosphere being thinner. I think there is technically some truth to that, perhaps. But regardless, I'm willing to go with the movie's premise in that a lot of the dinosaurs had a tough time adapting, especially the further north of the equator, because let's face it, most of the land masses are north of the equator rather than south. And I went along with it. I'm like, okay,
yeah, because
that's kind of a decent way to kind of move forward with this.
Yeah, because I'm not entirely sure if the Earth back in the day was much more rich, I think, in oxygen, and then much warmer compared to today. And I don't think the Earth at the time may not have had ice caps or something at the time.
I don't think so.
Or if there were barely any at the time.
Yeah, if I remember from my dino books, I think there technically was more oxygen because a lot of your bigger dinosaurs would need more oxygen and all that because of just their sheer size.
It was much more humid and warmer. Yeah,
and the continents and all that were not what they are today either. They were still not fully compact like they were like in the Triassic or even like in the Precambrian era, but spread out enough, but not like in modern day. So yeah, I think there is an element of truth to that. And I think it's a decent reset for the series. Where they go from here, I'm not sure. I will say that I think it's silly, but I don't know what else they can really do if they're going to move forward with this. But yeah, continuing to say, there's another island. There's another island. There's another island. It's like you kind of start laughing at the movies a little bit because you're just like,
I would say try to get to a point where kind of have some sort of epic sort of finale, kind of like what Universal is going to be doing with the upcoming Fast and Furious, because the next one's going to be their last one. So maybe try to lead up to something to kind of have it be sort of like kind of the last sort. I know they were trying to do that with Dominion, but there was like, I think we've got more in this, but
yeah, well, and that's the thing, and I think you and I discussed this before, where it's like, realistically, if you are to throw more dinos in amongst humans, let's be serious. Police and military and National Guard are coming in and blasting the hell out of those animals. I mean, let's be honest. Like, that's how the world would be, and we never saw that, thankfully, but that's how it technically would play out. So to try to avoid that, like, where do you go from here? Well, another island. There have been some that have speculated, because there has been this story idea floating around since the creation of Jurassic Park 3 of dino humanoids.
Yeah, I know that they were sort of floating that idea for many years.
To be honest, I'm not a fan of that idea. So I don't know where they go from here. But my thoughts on the movie in front of us, I like the film. I think it is definitely a sequel to what has come before it, but is also a soft reset as well. They're definitely going for something different. I think Gareth Edwards as a director did very well. I have been a huge defender of Edwards as a director since his 2014 Godzilla movie. I think that from a technical standpoint is still probably the best MonsterVerse film so far from a technical standpoint. I think his Rogue One Star Wars movie is, in my opinion, so far the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. His movie The Creator, I think, was, no pun intended, very creative. It was fun. It was something different, something unique for the sci-fi genre that we typically haven't seen a whole lot of over the last maybe 2 decades in cinema. And I love the fact that we get some familiar dinosaurs like in the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus, although a different looking Spinosaurus. We get a little bit more of the Mosasaur in this film. We get the Titanosaur. Yeah, they don't do a whole lot, but they're there. The Distortus.
Not quite the Titanosaurus from the Godzilla film.
Yeah.
although they kind of had the sort of the similar fin looking thing that they have.
Way to go, Toho. The dinosaurs are going to sue you now.
Yeah.
I love the Mutodons. Definitely different. I would love to see more of them in future films. And I love Distortus. I hope we get to see more of this guy in a follow-up movie or two. I would like to
Moby Dick
see more of... That's your thing, Moby Dick Source. I definitely see more of a whale-like thing.
A sperm whale.
Now you're being a Moby Dick.
What?
But I would say my biggest disappointment, other than seeing an ending fight, which, like I said, I'm right down the middle on as far as the decision they made. My biggest disappointment with the film is that, number one, we didn't see more of Distortus. And number two, there just wasn't more returning dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures from like earlier in the film. Like, it's just a series of vignettes of different dinosaur and prehistoric creature moments.
Although the only dinosaur that sort of had a recurring that was in earlier but then returned was the Mutodons. Technically even Distortus, but yeah. And that's a bit frustrating, but it's not something I'm gonna ding the movie a ton for, because again, I think trying to figure out what to do next after where the last trilogy took the Jurassic World story, it's really hard to do. And I think Kep and Edwards were not only trying to, obviously, because if you have a successful franchise, you not only want to continue doing some of the things that have made your franchise successful and people continue to want to see, but you're also trying to figure out, what can we do a little bit different to where this just isn't another version of what has come before? So you're trying to come up with something a little different. And so I think Rebirth, in many respects, does do that. And I think I may be in a similar boat with a lot of other people where, in some respects, the trailers sold me on something really intense and, yeah, different. And in some ways, it does deliver on that. But I don't think necessarily in the ways that we were led to believe. And the problem is that the trailers, or should I just say the marketing for this movie, was done not that great, because a lot was shown, I realized. After I saw this movie the first time and I went in my car and I kind of thought about it for a moment, I realized the trailers gave a lot away.
And we got to see more of the Distortus Rex than we probably should have seen. And we got to see more or less a lot of the big action set pieces. And I think some of that stuff should not have been shown in these trailers. I still think, for example, one of the better marketing schemes was Jurassic World, where that movie, it showed you a few, but like it didn't even show you the T-Rex fighting the Indominus. Like that was something you hoped you would see. And yeah, they delivered on that. And they delivered it more on this very intense horror film. And while intense in some sequences, not quite as horror. I would say Rebirth is a bit more horror in its dino presentation than World did. But World still had some tense moments. And marketing for this wasn't as great as it should have been. With all that being said, yeah, there's still a part of me that will always wish we got a T-Rex versus Distortus fight. But I understand why Edwards decided against it. Do I hope we get it in a future film? Absolutely. I hope we really do. But I look at Distortus, I'm like, the Distortus actually might be able to dispatch a T-Rex kind of quick because of how it's just built. So I don't know. It may take several T-Rexes or, multiple dinosaurs to take it down or whatever. This, I think, is a good start to potentially a new trilogy. And like I said, where they go from here, I'm not sure. There are some ways. Maybe they continue off with the blood samples and are like sort of recycle this storyline a little bit and like, let's go back to the island and gather more blood samples. Maybe there's other medicinal properties in the dinosaur blood or whatever, or maybe even in their bones extract to help human beings fight some other disease or cancer, what have you. Like, you're essentially recycling the same story, but doing a different adventure with some different dinosaurs and maybe a return of some familiar faces. So that's a possibility. Again, it's a rehash, but it's a story. I like the film. I like the color palette. I like a lot of the photography. I think the shots are done really well. I think Edwards is a terrific filmmaker. He was climbing a big uphill battle with this because, like I've said before, where the last trilogy left us and what it built up to. He did a good job. And I think it's a job that I think even if Spielberg or any other director, even a higher profile director, Spielberg, Carpenter, you name your director, would they have done the movie differently? Yeah. But would they have delivered on something enormous in action and scope that the last three movies did? I don't think so. I think in many ways their movies would have been a little bit similar to what Edwards did here. There are action set pieces, but nothing is overly grand because they are trying to set up something different here than the last three films. With all that being said, hoping for more Distortus, a return of some other dinosaurs, like bring back more Titanosaurus in a certain scene, maybe the Spinos, maybe a little bit more Mutodons. The film is by no means perfect, but I think it's a terrific start. And I think as the years progress and we get some sequels, we will look back on Rebirth and I think realize that this movie actually is better than what we gave it credit for in this moment. And I think we are going to be better off for it. I'm giving this movie a B+. I think it is a solid film. It's not perfect. Yeah, I would have wanted something a little bit different, even though a lot of what I wanted still would have been a rehash of what we've seen before. But what Edwards did was still solid. And I don't envy him because he had a big task in front of him. And what he did, I think, was maybe the right choice, which was give you some dinosaurs, give you some action set pieces, but not to go overly big. Because this was a bit of a reboot or a reset. And you leave maybe some of the bigger stuff down the road. Would I love to see Edwards back? Absolutely. Again, I love Edwards as a director. I think he is underappreciated by virtually everybody, not just in Hollywood, but even as fans of Godzilla, fans of Star Wars, fans of Jurassic World. I think he's underappreciated as a director. He's got skill. And I think if you give him the reins to make a sequel, if he's wanting to do it, I think he's willing to deliver. So, yeah, Rebirth is a solid film. Not my favorite in the series, but still real solid. And with that being said, Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot. What, so far, is your current ranking of all 7 of these films in order from favorite to least favorite?
I don't know. I haven't really thought of it that far ahead, so I'll have to get back to you on that one of these
We're going to do it in this episode. We're going to do it. I can go while you think about yours. So for me, my absolute favorite is still Jurassic World. Love that movie. Get to see a working park. Indominus, I think, is fantastic. You get a great T-Rex Indominus fight. At the end, I think that is not only, I think, the best, but also my favorite. Now things get a little bit tricky for me here because I think Fallen Kingdom is significantly better than most people give it credit for. Again, being a huge T-Rex fan, I would have liked more T-Rex, but, you know, I still think it's a really good film because that film to me is about animal rights. And I'm a huge animal lover. And I think talking about not just animal rights in general, but animal rights of extinct creatures, I think is still an important topic and philosophical discussion that this series needs to discuss. And they, in some respects, did touch upon that in Fallen Kingdom. But then I'm thinking, do I put Rebirth in there? I think in some areas, Rebirth is a better film than Fallen Kingdom, but I think Fallen Kingdom is a more complete movie. So where do I go for number 2? This is tough for me because I like the world movies more than the park movies. So number 2, I'm going to say at this moment in time, Fallen Kingdom beats out Rebirth by a sliver. Then it's Rebirth at 3. Dominion is a very close 4. There are elements of Dominion that I think could surpass Rebirth and even Fallen Kingdom. Like, I could easily put Dominion even at number 2. Not perfect. I would have done it differently. But for what we get, I still think Dominion is a solid film in many respects for a dinosaur film. Then I think it's The Lost World, then Jurassic Park 3, and then the first Jurassic Park.
For me, I would go with the first one because it's more groundbreaking as far as cinematic tendencies is, and also kind of, you know, grew up with it and all that, so it's kind of has
nostalgia,
sort of nostalgia to it. As far as the second, I probably would go with World as the second one, and then I would do Rebirth third. Fourth, I'd probably go with Dominion. Fifth, I'd do Fallen Kingdom. Sixth, number 3, and then Lost World as 7.
Really? Lost World is down there? You think 3 is better than Lost World?
Yeah.
Wow. Usually people put like Fallen Kingdom or 3 like at the bottom. I think 3 is the best.
Those are other people. They're not me.
Yeah, screw them.
Yeah.
3, I think the first half of the film is really solid, but then the second half really, in my opinion, struggles. Like even the Pteranodon sequence should have been, in my opinion, better than what it is. And let me say something about even Rebirth here. This is something that the whole franchise, all 7 movies, has had a problem. Where are more of the horned dinosaurs? The horned dinosaurs don't get much of a role in these films. We still have not gotten like a T-Rex Triceratops fight. We have not gotten like just a, other than Little Rock, which is a short piece and not a movie. We have not gotten in any of these actual films like a horned dinosaur, a ceratopsian versus a theropod carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We've got 7 movies in and we have never had a moment. That's something I'm still, and I know many others are scratching their head over. Maybe
if they truly decide to end the franchise or something, maybe have it as part of the last film. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the climatic battle. Yeah, maybe they're savoring it for the last.
I got it. Whenever your final, although I don't think anything's going to be fine. I think Jurassic World, even if they put it on a hiatus, it'll be done for like 10, 20 years and they'll bring it back. But let's just say they make the final movie. The villain dinosaur is like a Triceratops. Like a red-eyed, like rabid Triceratops or something like that. Or a Triceratops that's just a jerk. And it's like coming after, like Jerkaceratops. So it's like coming after people, like impaling them and stuff and everyone. And they have the trailers like really intense, similar Jurassic World, where it's like, oh, run, like, oh, and you know. And then the T-Rex comes and saves the day at the end. It kills the Jerkaceratops.
Not on my watch, Jerkasaurus.
It Rambos itself up.
Oh, God, I can see that now.
Yeah, Jurassic World, Jerkaceratops. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us. We were supposed to do this podcast last weekend, and Jason got all mixed up.
Well, I could have sworn that, you know, with you going to the convention there at your town there, I thought that we were going to delay for another week, so I got confused on the timing and stuff. So I did the watching. Well, we were supposed to do it the following day after he went to the convention, but I was going to be doing the watch on that day. So here we are the following weekend as of this recording.
So we will be back in a few weeks because I don't want to do. Let me just say this. We're going to do the 3 treasures as our next topic of discussion. That's a 3-hour movie. And even though I got time this week, I could do it. In about a week and a half, I will be traveling to go see Jason
to the dungeon.
And so we decided that we're not going to do our next podcast until August 16th. And we're coming home August 6th.
I don't think anyone's going to really care.
No one's going to care.
Because, I mean, these episodes are going to be coming out at random times.
By the time this comes out is when we're going to actually be doing the next episode. So, but when we come back, that's the week I usually clean the house. I want time to rest and recover, but also to clean the house. So I'm not going to have enough time to really like do the 3 treasures and then do the podcast. So we're going to come back.
That's going to be the same thing for me. Is like after this, I'm going to be at least trying to get 1 episode out, and then I got to do my cleaning on this end for this dipshit.
Oh well,
because he has to be all nighty tidy. So
and so the Saturday, August 16th is when we're going to be returning. We're going to be discussing the three treasures. So we'll be off almost a month. And then after that, try to get back again on sort of a normal schedule. After that, we have no idea what we're going to do after the three treasures.
I know we sort of talked about, are we going to do some more discussions or do some commentary, what have you. So
we're almost done with the Jurassic Park /World. We got 2 more movies in that retrospective at the moment until Rebirth comes out like in a few months. So yeah, that's an option. Otherwise, yeah, we'll have to either find another movie or a TV series to cover.
Yeah. I know I've mentioned as far as try to dip our feet into the Super Sentai franchise because we haven't gotten to that yet. So. But I know
I'm not quite ready to go there yet.
Yeah,
but
I know we're still trying to figure out how to do kind of this formatting when it comes to TV shows, like
especially longer TV series.
Yeah, like how many episodes together we should watch and sort of do kind of like an overall discussion there. But it's like I know when it comes to some of the newer Ultraman stuff, it's like those are at least 24 episodes and stuff. I know we talked about things like
Neo
that,
Ultra Q, I think, is 12. So I don't think you have that one, but that's a 12 episode series.
Yeah, I think I do have Neo Ultra Q.
I know I went through it a couple of years ago. I don't know if I actually talked about it at all on the podcast or not.
May have just briefly though.
But yeah, we could cover other movies, like other dinosaur movies, like for discussions. Like there's so many of those we could do. Or we could do other sci-fi films like Earth versus the Spider. There's just so many others. And I don't believe you have any of these. You would have to get these, if they still have them anyways, through... I don't know if Amazon would have them or not, but SRS Cinema, like there's movies like Monster Seafood Wars, War of the God Monsters. Both movies are not that good, but we still need to.
Well, I know
especially is not that good.
I know I did manage to get Wamagui, but it seems like Amazon now has that available for Blu-ray, which I'm thinking about getting that one.
I do have that one on Blu-ray. Yes. You know what? Let's do it right now. Let's commit to doing Space Monster Wong Magui after 3 Treasure.
Okay.
Let's do that. And then what I will do in the coming weeks is try to figure out like a tentative schedule, and then we can just kind of discuss and make any changes from there.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the discussion, and we'll be back. And
also like and subscribe.
Yes, do that. Please. Because we're not charging you anything or even asking for money. Do it. It takes you just a few seconds, you lazy bums.
All right. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next episode.